I call the member for Gippsland.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And I rise to speak on two issues that certainly grieve me and many hundreds of people in my electorate, that being the federal government's failure to provide funding to support the development of the second stage of Gippsland Rotary Centenary House and the upgrade of the Gippsland Plains rail trail. And I'll get to the specific details on the rail trail in a few moments, but I wanted to begin perhaps on a more positive note. I briefly mentioned earlier in the House tonight in relation to a fundraising auction which was held in Traralgon at the Traralgon Vineyard, hosted by Leon and Margaret Hammond on Saturday night, and it really was a magnificent setting, and it befit the occasion given the magnificent gesture and generosity shown by Gippslanders on the evening. The generosity of Gippslanders was certainly on show, Deputy Speaker, with, I believe, in excess of $20,000 raised for Gippsland Rotary Centenary House on the evening, and I commend the members of the fundraising committee for putting in the hard work that goes into arranging such an event, and also the sponsors of the night. It typified the community spirit since the decision was made to build Centenary House, Deputy Speaker. And I have spoken in the House before in relation to the Centenary House facility, and it really is quite extraordinary. It provides a home away from home for patients and their families attending Latrobe Regional Hospital, and primarily patients at the Gippsland Cancer Care Centre. At their most vulnerable time in their lives, it is very reassuring for people in Gippsland to know that someone cares enough to help them out in this manner. And I've visited Rotary Centenary House on several occasions, and it's always being improved, quite often, Deputy Speaker, by the partners of the patients who come in and do odd jobs while their loved ones are receiving treatment and care at the nearby Latrobe Regional Hospital. It's been quite an extraordinary community facility to see it develop in the way it has been. This is a house that love, compassion and empathy has built, and everyone on the committee and all Rotarians in Gippsland should be proud of their achievements. The facility contains 6 large ensuite units and 2 smaller self-contained units, along with a communal kitchen, dining room and lounge facilities, a children's play area and a quiet room for family consultation and privacy. Such a facility didn't just happen overnight, Deputy Speaker. It required an enormous amount of work and goodwill from the community and governments at all levels. In the first stage, there was $500,000 of the Community Support Fund by the State Labor Government. There was $407,000 through the Sustainable Regions Fund by the Federal Coalition Government, and Latrobe City provided the land, while Rotarians across Gippsland provided the people power. There was a total of $432,000 through philanthropic trusts, including a $100,000 donation by the Ronald McDonald House Charities. The link to McDonald's, Deputy Speaker, is very strong through the local benefactors Kay and Tony Radford. And I know the Radfords will be embarrassed to have their names acknowledged so publicly, but Kay is really a driving force behind the fundraising activities of the committee. Rotary clubs across Gippsland provided $350,000 to the first stage, plus a range of in-kind donations. All up, it was a $2 million project that was officially launched by the former federal member for Gippsland, Peter McGorran, and also the former Labor member for Morwell, state member for Morwell, Brendan Jenkins. And I make the point regarding both the funding sources and the official opening to reflect the bipartisan support this round one of the project received, and to appeal to the current governments at state and federal levels to follow that example. There are now plans to build a further stage, and the volunteer board, led by the chairman Ken Peake, have been successful in raising in the vicinity of $500,000. Federal funding was sought under the Jobs Fund, but the project's bid for funding was unsuccessful in round one. And I think it's a sad indication that the demand for such a facility is there and growing so quickly, that there is such a pressing concern in the community of Gippsland to build another 9 units so desperately. Centenary House is providing comfortable and affordable accommodation for Gippslanders when they are certainly at their most vulnerable, Deputy Speaker. I've no doubt that the friendly and supportive environment which is provided in a safe and a secure location is contributing to the improved health outcomes for the guests while they are staying at Centenary House. It's important to note that functions like the fundraiser on Saturday night reflect the overwhelming generosity of Gippslanders, which has been seen right throughout this year, of course, with the fundraising that supported our bushfire victims earlier this year. Although Centenary House is located between Traralgon and Morwell, the main beneficiaries of this project come from further afield, with 82% of the patients travelling from East Gippsland, Wellington and South Gippsland Shires. And I think it says a lot about the community of the Latrobe Valley and the businesses and the residents who are so willing to support this project, that they are the major sponsors and the major supporters of the Centenary House facility, yet it is their neighbouring communities across Gippsland which actually receive the benefits from their hard work. And I strongly urge the federal government ministers to work with the state colleagues in Victoria and support the extension of Centenary House as soon as possible. Deputy Speaker, as I indicated at the outset, I also wanted to raise the issue of the Gippsland Plains rail trail. And by way of background, the rail trail covers a distance of 65 kilometres through the towns of Traralgon, Glengarry, Toongabbie, Cowar, Hayfield, Tanamba, Maffra and Stratford. And the trail follows the path of the disused railway line which connected these towns. This trail is a major tourist icon and is a drawcard for touring cyclists and walkers alike. Funding was sought again under the Jobs Fund program to restore the Latrobe River Timber Trestle Rail Bridge, which was operational for over 100 years until its closure in 1986. This restoration will enable a 7-kilometre section of the trail between Traralgon and Glengarry to be opened up. This is another project, Deputy Speaker, that has strong support in my community from people who are both passionate and determined to make a difference. In this case, the lady leading the charge is Helen Hopner, and she's a tireless worker for our community and an outstanding advocate for the rail trail. Helen is the current chairperson of the Gippsland Plains Rail Trail Committee, and she has, as I said, worked tirelessly to promote the opportunities to develop this facility and to encourage state and federal governments to make a contribution to the ongoing upgrades. The funding proposal that was submitted was seeking, I think, $340,000, Deputy Speaker, and during construction, during construction phase of the project, they're expected to create 5 jobs on the site, sourcing local timbers to be used in the restoration work. And as the application to the Jobs Fund indicated, it's a major tourist icon for the region, which would attract some 20,500 touring cyclists, providing an economic benefit to the connected towns, estimated at $6 million per annum, and thus stimulating the development of existing tourist establishments such as cafes, hotels and general stores, along with the accommodation sector such as the bed and breakfasts, wineries, cheese making and other associated tourism industries. There are obviously some very important observations which need to be made in terms of providing these opportunities for healthy lifestyles by encouraging people of all ages to exercise in a safe and relaxed environment. And I take the opportunity, while I have the moment, Deputy Speaker, to reflect on the fact that I often worry about the current need for cyclists to exercise on our main road environment right across Gippsland. It is a difficult terrain, and the visibility is not always that great, and our roads haven't necessarily been established with cyclists in mind. And the broader issue of safety of cyclists in our community needs to be addressed. There have been several tragic accidents in my electorate in the time that I've been a Member of Parliament, and one quite recently where we had a local doctor, Heather Hunter from Sale, a much loved and a well-respected physician in the Sale community, was struck and seriously injured. Heather is still in a critical condition, and the thoughts and the prayers of all Gippslanders are with Heather and her family and her loved ones at this time. Deputy Speaker, the point I was making was referring to the need to provide these safe opportunities for people to exercise, and I think it's important that in that context that the government considers carefully whether there's any opportunities to fund the further stage of the rail trail project, the Gippsland Rail Trail project, in subsequent rounds of the Jobs Fund. The rail trail also has quite a heritage component associated with it, Deputy Speaker. The Trestle Bridge has its historical significance, as I referred to earlier, that operated for something in the order of 100 years until its closure in 1986. And it served and helped develop a resource-rich area, notably for its dairy farming and timber cutting and mining. And aesthetically, the bridge, together with its adjacent floodplain timber bridges, was regarded as a notable and very attractive feature of the Latrobe River in the past. And so I just reflect for a moment that it would be great to see in future rounds, if the government was in a position to support such a project. It would obviously add some benefits to the tourism and economic base of the Gippsland region, but also to the safety of the cycling community and the health and wellbeing of the community more generally. Deputy Speaker, in the time that's left available to me, I just want to reflect briefly that if such projects do get off the ground, we will be seeking government support for encouraging local contractors to have the opportunity to tender any such work. I know Gippsland Rotary Centenary House has benefited enormously from local traders undertaking the vast majority of the work. In the time leading up to Christmas, I'll be running my own Shopping Locally campaign in the electorate of Gippsland with a message of putting locals first, encouraging Gippsland mums and dads to seek the opportunity to purchase their Christmas presents wherever they can from the local business sector. We all know that if you support local businesses in our country communities, you're helping to generate jobs for the future, and you're providing opportunities for young people to remain in our towns. I think it's something that we can all do as members of Parliament in regional areas, is to promote the benefits of our own regional communities by encouraging such initiatives. So, Despite the changes to the communications and printing entitlements, I'm sure it will fit under the new criteria. There will be no disparaging remarks of any government ministers, and there will be a very positive newsletter which will promote the benefits of supporting local communities, putting locals first and creating jobs in the Gippsland region.